Hey, what's going on, guys? And today I wanted to do a video review for these Edifier bookshelf speakers. Now I have a kind of a unique setup here, so I'm going to actually walk you through my full setup, how I'm using these speakers, and just give you some of the pros and the cons, and overall do a little demo for you here as well. So let's kind of go through the setup of these speakers. Basically going over this, the left speaker is going to be your main control. On the right hand side you have a few options for different settings. So at the top here you have treble, you have bass, and then you have your volume control. By default, if it's powered on, you're going to see a red light up here. And then typically on the front of the speaker, you're going to have different LEDs depending on the sound input that you have selected. So the cool thing about these Edifiers is that you can switch between an optical out or you have a line in. So right now this is actually set to optical. If I switch to line in, this will highlight green on the front, so that kind of gives you an indicator. There's no other LEDs. One downside with this is that there's no specific control or identification of volume. So if you're hitting up or down on the remote, you can't really quite tell how little or how high the volume is based on like a number or indicator bar or anything like that. Now what I did in my particular case here is I actually am utilizing this both with optical and line in. You have your standard power cable here. There is an option as well if you want a second line in connection, you can do that, and then you also have a coax option as well as a sub out. So here at the bottom, if I wanted to, I could connect a subwoofer, which I may do in the future. You have your standard flip switch here that you might see in a lot of stereo components, and it does come with a pretty long wire that you can run to connect the second speaker, which I basically have over here. So let me actually stand back and I'm going to show you the full setup. This is basically my man cave, and what I did in this room is I basically set up a epic gaming setup. So as you can see, I have a retro CRT TV. This is an older Sony Trinitron from the early 2000s. And then I have a brand new LG OLED TV here above that I wall mounted around this large shelving unit that I was able to put all my old game cartridges, pretty much display all my cool older gaming memorabilia. And I really wanted the ability to have some nice speakers, not only for the Trinitrons, but also for the OLED. It's kind of funny, the OLED had pretty, bum speakers, very lacking internally, but the Sony Trinitron actually had really good inbuilt speakers, so I didn't really need them as much for that. But what I was able to do is utilize the sound out option on the Trinitron, and now I have sound coming from the internal speakers on this, and I've also got it coming out of the Edifiers. With the OLED, I was actually able to hook up the optical, so anytime I want to switch between these, I can easily do this. So I'll walk you through the remote now. You have a power button here at the top. You have your volume up and down, next, forward, pause, and then I can pretty much turn on or off any of the, I think this is for like the signal specifically. And then I can also go in, I'm gonna see if I can get my camera to focus here a little bit better. I can actually switch between optical and line in. You also have Bluetooth here, and you can mute. So another nice option with this is if I want, I was able to hook up my PC. I have a gaming PC down here. My whole office is set up down here, and I actually have an HDMI cable that runs all the way down across this. And what I was able to do is basically set this up so I could run an Xbox controller off this, have the sound from the Edifiers coming off of the Bluetooth hookup from the speakers here, and then I could play a computer game or something like that on this display and use an Xbox controller hooked up back to my PC all the way down here. So that's a huge advantage of the Bluetooth, as well as obviously being able to connect like a phone or anything else you want to play music through. Just works really well. I'm going to do a little demo here. I pulled up a movie on Netflix, and I'm just going to hit play so you can hear what these sound like. We'll move this one back. So the sound quality on these is amazing, and honestly it's enhanced even more if I go and actually power up, I'll turn on our CRT. I'm going to turn on a console here just to do a little demo. Maybe we'll do Sega. I have Sonic 2 in here. And I actually have a switcher port here. So what I was able to do is hook up my line ins, so the Edifiers are actually directly linked into this box, and I'm able to produce sound coming right out of this box and switch between all my consoles. So this really made for like the perfect combination. So I turned on the Sega. I have all of these labeled, so we're going to switch over to Genesis. And I now have to switch the input. So if I hit line in, we now get the full sound out of the Edifiers. And I'm just going to switch to a different input to kill it. So yeah, it sounds really, really good. The setup of this worked well. The only downside with this particular setup is having these up high. The power cable only goes to a little bit beyond here, so I did have to get an extra extension cable, and I do have to spend some time neatening up the wires. I've got to probably mount this up with some sticker pieces so they'll stay up a little bit higher. But I'm extremely satisfied with these speakers. I was able to fit them in perfectly in these little shelving areas here. And I'd say, if anything else, I just add a subwoofer, which I could put on the floor, something either behind or maybe on the sides here. I'll maybe stick them over here in between my arcade cabinet and the wall. It'd be perfect to put a little subwoofer over here and I'd be good to go. So anyway, hopefully you found this video review helpful. Overall, I'm very, very satisfied with these speakers. They were exactly what I was looking for. The only thing that I did find, and I think it's probably more with the CRT, is there's a little bit of a static audio that comes from the CRT and that then distributes into the Edifiers as well, and it's a little bit more prominent. But I think that's just more because it's a CRT versus the speakers themselves, as when I use optical, newer components, I'm not getting that static and that feedback. Anyway, overall very happy with the turnout of the speakers, and hopefully you guys found this review helpful. Thanks for watching.